Okay, good morning, and good morning, Kevin, and thank you very much for doing this. And if there's any pussycat here, I hope it's me. Anyway, you are our very newest media mogul, and a very big-time media mogul. Bell Media is the biggest something, but I'm not sure what it is the biggest. How would you describe its bigness?
Well, good morning, Trina. Good morning to all. Bonjour tout le monde. And just before I do that, congrats to Norm and John for a really fantastic, successful primetime.
Here.
And I've been reading the headlines and following the clips and online, and there's some sessions I'm glad I wasn't here for because I don't know if I have the stomach, and many that I have found fascinating. Bell Media is Canada's largest multimedia company with assets across the television and video entertainment landscape, and it has just been an absolute blast. I think that what I found the most passionate, committed, dedicated professionals that I've ever worked with, who really, really care about their product and really, really care about viewers and the business.
You come from a telecommunications background. You've been president for a year. Were there any surprises in the year that you kind of hadn't expected? Maybe?
There have been lots of surprises for sure. And I kind of grew up in the packaged goods business. So I did grow up with a very consumer advertising bent in the beginning of my career, and then in telecom and now media. I think that, first of all, the surprise for me is that there is a lot more great television than people have time to watch. I would like to say I've become a real student of the industry and study it and watch it. And there are many great television shows that don't succeed just because the supply outstrips the demand. And that's a real challenge. That's a real challenge. And if you don't get the audience and grab them early on in the program's release, then you never have a chance, or you rarely have a chance to recover. I think secondly, the media business likes to talk about itself, and so I'm never surprised, or I've never been more surprised by how much that we are in the media talking about ourselves. And my first day on the job, in fact, was quite a treat. I walked over, I was meeting Yvonne. I had been just announced the night before, I was as green as you can be, walking over, just thinking I was going to shake Yvonne's hand and meet the team. And I walked into 299 Queen, and there was CP24 with a camera in my face. And so that was quite a baptism by fire into the business and how much we like to cover ourselves.
I guess Hollywood. Your first Hollywood screenings would have been an interesting event.
Well, the Hollywood screenings are probably the most talked about, legendary, and shrouded in mystery activity that I think that we at Bell Media at CTV do in a year, and it was fascinating. There's no question it was fascinating. And kind of a fun story that came out of that. You travel to LA, you sit in hotel rooms, and you watch television for hours and hours and hours on end, over and over again. You try and make notes. And, at that time, at that stage in the development, the pilots are still, very, very private and tightly guarded by the studios. And all of you are well aware of how important intellectual property is, and especially in today's world, when they come with the DVD of a pilot, man, it is priceless. So they sit in the room while you're viewing it. And we, as of course savvy negotiators, are supposed to keep our reaction to ourselves. And I watched one program and I stood up and I burst out, "I love that show! I want it!"
Thus increasing the price by 20%.
Yeah, and so my team coached me on that afterwards. It turns out that we actually didn't get the show, and it's airing on another network, and I don't think I'll have time to watch it now.
Oh. So that's Hollywood. Tell us a little bit about your Canadian initiatives that you're currently engaged in.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we reorganized our Canadian production and Canadian programming team under Corey Coe last year, and we've been staffing up her team And I am really delighted. I saw Corey's leadership when she helped negotiate the terms of trade with the group. And I saw her business savvy, her sensitivity, and her interest in the work that this group does. And so was delighted to really expand her leadership. Corey and team are looking at over 1,600 scripts a year, and we are massively open for business. We've talked about that. We spend at Bell Media, it's actually pretty astonishing when you think about where our programming spend goes. We spend $600 million on Canadian production, and over $100 million of that is on P&I with those of you here in the room. And we hope to and expect very much to continue that trajectory and producing great television from it.
Is there anything special that we can look forward to next year?
Well, there's a lot of great stuff. I mean, we announced, I loved the headline that I saw this morning. We announced that Saving Hope had been picked up by NBC, and legendary Ilana Frank, David, Ilana and David, the producers. But I loved the headline that said, maybe there's hope for NBC. And Saving Hope is a project that stars Erica Durance, and it is just fantastic. I am so excited. I really hope that it is for Bell Media and for Canada the next Flashpoint, a long-running, successful global drama series. And Erica Durance is unbelievable, and the production and the set and the story is really compelling. Beyond that, The Horses of McBride is a movie that's in production right now, and very, very excited about that. We have projects that, so The Horses of McBride and Saving Hope are for CTV, but we have projects for Space, for Bravo, for comedy, for Much Music. The LA Complex is something that we're really, really excited about from Epitome. And so across our entire portfolio of specialty is actually, and when I talked about our $600 million spend, I think a really important thing to understand is that 2/3 of that now comes from our specialty channels. I think that we know as an industry over the last decade the tremendous growth of the specialty channels, and only 1/3 of it comes actually from our flagship CTV or CTV2.
So that brings us to the big questions of what keeps you awake at night. And I imagine running a conventional network is one of those things that keeps you awake at night.
There's no question. Television is I think that one of the biggest things I woke up, I had the joy of a large embedded base of revenue at a telecom. We had millions of subscribers who paid us every month whether they liked it or not. And you don't have that. We have to earn our business, we have to earn our viewers and earn our revenue every single day in this business. And the conventional television business is really on the blunt edge of that aspect. A big learning for me has also been that advertising is absolutely no longer sufficient to be the sole source of revenue to support the great content you're producing and the great content that we're delivering to our viewers. We've seen, and I think it's probably a lot of what you talked about. We've seen the transformation of the industry, and we've talked about it for well over a decade, how viewers are fragmenting and everything else is happening. And everything that's happened from viewer fragmentation, more specialty channels, the online boom has made advertising less able to support the big mass media. So
even when you have a big rating success, the fact is that the advertising pie is being diverted to other kinds of media.
Yeah, for sure.
Digital media, so it's not as easy to monetize your rating successes.
Well, no, there's no question. I mean, the big rating success of today is smaller than it was 10 years ago. And so the #1 show in Canada today garners about a 5 or a 6 rating point in each major market, and that would have been well over 10 a decade ago. And so, and then just secondly, I think that advertisers, there's no question that they are grappling with, I think that mass market television like CTV is fantastic for brand building and fantastic for the really big iconic campaigns, but they're looking for much more targeted means and ways to reach their audiences. And we as mass television producers need to get more sophisticated with how we serve, measure, and track the performance and target. But at the same time, they're spreading their dollars to other places.
So it sounds like a value for signal campaign coming up.
Well, no,
No?
I will. You know what? I'm in the eye of the storm right now, waiting for the Supreme Court to tell us about value for signals. So right now, I'm not lobbying. I will tell you that we should never forget that our industry just came out of a period a couple of years ago where the second largest media company in Canada was bankrupt, and the first largest media company in Canada was asking its owners for a cash infusion. And so other than having the deep pockets, frankly, of the Thompson family and Bell, CTV would have found itself in the same position as CanWest. And I can tell you that the ad market, so this is a little bit frightening about, we saw the global economy as one of the things that are on people's minds. The ad market was as soft from September to December last year as it was in the 08-09 recession. It was down 6% year over year, and that was in the depth of the recession. We had a banner first 8 months to last year, a horrible last 4 months, and we're still, January, February, we're still down year over year in sort of the mid-single digits. And so I raise that in the context of value for signal because I'm also struck that we are delivering unbelievable value to viewers. You've talked a lot about digital. Netflix logo was raised earlier. One of the things that strikes me about Netflix is not an alternative to traditional television. It's not a choice where customers, I believe, in fact, the evidence is clear. They're not cord cutting and going to a Netflix. It's another channel. It's actually, Netflix is a specialty channel. And it's a very expensive one at that. It's $8 a month direct to the consumer to sign up for Netflix. And even with that unlimited movie library and unlimited television library that they have that's on demand, viewers are watching, per subscriber, they're watching 8 hours a month. And if you're kind of generous with the household conversion and things of that sort, it's under 5 hours a month of viewing that Netflix is generating. Well, CTV generates per person over 25 hours of viewing every month times 31 million Canadians over 2 years old. And so just think, when you think about the value of Netflix, 5 hours a month times 1.2 million, CTV over 25 hours a month times 31 million viewers. If you think about that value difference, then the value for signal argument comes in $8 and $0 from subscription. And just so the audience can think about the math and things of that sort, the advertising dollars that we get per month, if you do the math and you divide it out, it's about $3.50 per viewer. So anyway, and my last point on this long string.
It was just math. I'm amazed at somebody who could do math in public.
There she's going to turn me. She's going to turn me into the pussycat now. I can see how Conrad fell victim. The value part of value for signal, I find it very disconcerting and troubling, and it is one of my biggest objectives for 2012, that our industry the value chain of our industry starts in this room, and then it goes through me, and then it goes to distributors, and then it goes to consumers and viewers. And we worked hard in our relationship over the last couple of years to get terms of trade and to get group licensing in place. And that has solidified our relationship for a long time. The relationship between me and the distributors is a wreck right now. And it really is disconcerting because I want to bring the on-demand, what Netflix has created that is really valuable. And while we're wrestling as an industry, Netflix identified incremental viewing and incremental demand that was out there, and they met it. They met it with an on-demand product and a superior user interface. And our industry has to do that. We have to move to that on-demand viewing with everything we have and a superior user interface for delivery. And we're not moving there because we're arguing about the equivalent of terms of trade amongst the distribution and broadcasters.
But you've signed with almost all of your distributors. You've only got Michael and his friends to worry about.
Well, as you know, as I talked a little bit earlier, the specialty channels are a vital part of the industry.
Yes. They're about 90% of your profit, aren't they?
Well, they're 110% of our profit. If you look
Really?
over the last 10 years at CTV, it has lost money. And
Really?
so the rest of the portfolio is over 100% of the profit. And if you look at the conventional industry, it's not just CTV as well. Now, importantly, they are over 90%. I talked about that 2/3 of the Canadian spending that is on specialty. And over 90% of that is on a very small subset of channels that we call Category A channels. And if I don't bore you, and if Trina doesn't hit me with a stick or kick me in the shin, then I'd like to explain the challenge that our industry faces. Because I do believe that for those of you in this room, that it is as important or more important than GLR and the terms of trade that we worked on. We have always distributed content to viewers in such a fashion that the popular channels, Category A channels, were in large packages that had wide distribution. And that has served the system well because it gets sampling. It puts your product, whether your product is the basis of a channel itself or just a program on a channel, it puts it in a lot of households so that sampling can occur, so that you can be next to really popular content and nurture an upcoming new production. That's served the industry quite well. And the way the economics of it worked is we charged the distributors for that. The price that they paid was the rate times the volume, and the volume was always very high. So these 12 Category A channels that we sell are in 75% of Canadian households on average. Well, right now, there is a very small subset of distributors in Canada who are demanding to break that model and demanding to pay less than the rest of the market by not being willing to commit to the volume part. They want the rate part, but they don't want to commit to the volume part. And we are in a pretty serious commercial dispute that has repercussions that are tremendous for the specialty industry, not just Bell Media, for the entire specialty industry.
But I guess they'd argue that the only people you haven't signed are the non-integrated companies, the smaller companies who may have a threat that's larger to them from cord cutting, from other means. So they're looking for a way to go into the future, just as you are.
Right.
There must be a way that you can deliver to them something that will help them.
Right.
But it's in arbitration now, so. Right.
And being cognizant of the fact that we are in the middle of it, I'll just say another couple of words, but the dispute is really, it's a commercial dispute about paying less than the market rate. Right. And frankly, it's about the distributors wanting to beef up their profits by paying less for content. Yeah. I was a distributor. I came to Canada to run Bell TV 7.5 years ago. And one of the first things that I said is, holy cow, all of these packaging requirements are crazy. I could really boost my profits if I could erase all those packaging requirements and just buy it the way I want. Well, that's not how commercial agreements work in any business. And so on the one hand, it is just a pure commercial dispute. I find it total fallacy, and it's totally wrong to say that we've only done commercial deals with vertically integrated providers. First of all, the majority of our industry is vertically integrated, so it represents a whole lot of the households, and it's hard to throw it out. But secondly, we've done deals, commercial market setting deals with 159 distributors, large, small, vertical, non-vertical, predominantly French, predominantly English, medium-sized ones. The 159 distributors who have signed our terms of trade represent 97% of the BDUs and 80% of the households in Canada. If you follow the logical path, and by the way, when the Commission did their much followed and covered vertical integration decision, they anticipated this kind of a dispute. And so they did put together a dispute resolution process that we're in. And boy, you're looking bored, Trina.
No, I'm not. No,
so that means
I
everybody
see
out
that
there
you're
really
entirely passionate about this, and I see that when you have a situation in which your major profit center, the specialty channels, are threatened, that you need to be passionate about that.
For
It's
sure.
got to be a huge objective of yours. I guess I'm thinking that in these cases, the average person thinks it's a kind of struggle between a bunch of big companies
Right.
that doesn't really
Right.
affect. But in this one, it really does affect both sides. So good luck, CRTC, I guess.
Well,
because it obviously will have a direct effect on your ability to fund Canadian content.
for sure. So Trina, we did put our heads together and asked ourselves, how do we modernize the Canadian broadcast system to move into the world that we see, which is on demand. Choice is paramount to consumers. And I will say that there's a noble cause that precedes this debate, which says if we're going to give more choice, the technology that distributors use to distribute content now gives them the ability to create more packages and offer more choice. And so the whole industry needs to adapt. You can't just force the modernization of the industry on one participant. So we created a flexible rate card that we call penetration-based rates. I will tell you that it is unique and novel, and if we can establish this, Canada can be a world leader, I think, in moving the legacy industry of specialty distribution to a new model that does support flexibility, supports customer choice, but does so in a way that is balanced and preserves, frankly, the ecosystem of production, distribution, and broadcasting. And so that's the alternative that we are asking the distributors to consider.
You know, you talk about it as an ecosystem, and I think a lot of people in the room are thinking about that and thinking about how the industry can work more together. And I'm sure this dispute will get solved. Let's hope it gets solved in a way that benefits everybody. But after that, how can people like you who are leaders make some sort of place in which the industry can come together and deal with a lot of the common problems
Right.
that we have?
Well, I will tell you, and I hope this audience will only see this over time from me, and it's only going to be earned by evidence, but I'm troubled by this vertical integration tag. I'm a broadcaster, and I have loved with every moment of my last year and a half being involved, and I'm a champion of the broadcasting industry. I happen to be owned by Bell, but I will fight passionately for things that ensure the continued success of the Canadian broadcasting industry. And so when it worries me that my views, as I articulate them, get taken in the idea of, oh, that's a vertical guy. I want folks to understand where I come from first. Secondly, we can work together to upgrade our distribution platforms. Everything needs to be IP. The user interface, the user guides need to advance, and I need to buy. Now, when we offer all these digital rights, I need to buy those rights. The other learning is the industry is genius up and down the chain at slicing and dicing rights, whether it's by platform or by window. And it does require, in order to satisfy the consumer demand for anywhere, anytime, on-demand content, on any device, it does require us to purchase more rights. The good news is we cared for that in our terms of trade with you. When I battle in the US, it means a lot more money. When I battle with the sports leagues, that is the scariest part. It's really more money. But I need to get those rights. Distributors need to have the capability to distribute them. And then we need an end-to-end business model that is balanced and keeps everybody in the value chain healthy and doesn't just move profits or benefit one part of the value chain.
So we've talked about, I guess, a very complex and very difficult situation, but when you meet young people who are thinking of going into this business, do you discourage them or encourage
Oh my gosh.
them?
Well, it's funny, I came across, I realized I have a 16-year-old son who is you know, it's amazing how early they have to figure out, what do I want to be when I grow up? And it's actually kind of disconcerting at 16. But I told him to develop a radio voice because the talent at Bell Media, who is the highest compensated, tends to be our hit radio personalities. So if you're advising your children on what to do, develop a voice for radio.
All right, we'll do that for sure. And I guess, though, in general, what do you see this business as? It's in a complicated time. There's the great benefits. There's the GLR, which everybody is optimistic about. There's terms of trade. That's the good part.
Right.
The difficult part is monetizing, making money, I guess you would say. So what kind of skills do you think are the most important in this? Well,
for this room, clearly, you know, it's tricky because you can't mix and match. And this has been the challenge of the culture of Bell and the culture of CTV. You know, I'm a business person, and I am very careful to offer my insights and opinions on the creative and production and content side, but I make sure that I get less than one vote. Yes. And those of you in this room focus on what you do best, which is being creative and energetic and passionate about entertaining people and informing them and bringing Canadian stories to life and putting a Canadian perspective on global stories and global passions and personality. And, you know, so that's what this room does. I absolutely do see my role of maintaining an ecosystem that we no longer have the threat of bankruptcy in this business and that we have continued growth in the revenue sources. The positive thing is that consumers are willing to pay. The revenue that is spent on home entertainment and television entertainment continues to explode. And consumers are willing to pay for it on multiple platforms. As we saw with Netflix, we looked at, by the way, Netflix users that subscribe to Bell TV. And we looked at the revenue they spend on Bell TV before and a year after they signed up for Netflix. And you know what? They spent $8 more on Netflix and they spent $1 more with Bell TV. It didn't cannibalize a penny. So the great news is consumers are willing to pay. And I think that gives a bright future for all of us. It's scary. We're rebuilding the engine of our airplane while it's in flight. And there is a real danger that we think, oh my God, let's go work on that new engine. And we let the old one sputter and go out before this one's going. And I think that often in technology, people underestimate the resilience of the old engine. This old engine is going to have to carry us through for a long, long, long time. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mogul, and we're delighted you're one of us now and hope you will be for many years and many successes. That's great, Trina. I do want to say we have coming up in just a couple of months, and just my last plug, the London Olympics. I joined CTV just months after Vancouver, and I get goosebumps when I think about Vancouver 2010 was the biggest Canadian television event of our lifetime, and the team did such an unbelievable job, and I think that it changed our country, and I'm so excited. In a couple of months, London kicks off 2012, and I'm hoping that passion and spirit and patriotism will once again blossom, and we have the Dean of Canadian Olympics, Brian Williams, is ready to go with an unbelievable staff that are going to bring us every story from London. So tune in. Well, it is a gold medal country. Thank you so much. You bet.